We are talking to Brittany Kuykendall, Elkhart Memorial Class of 2011 for our Alumni Spotlight. This is the first video interview that we've done. So just want to say thank you for doing this. And you're kind of a trailblazer. So we get to kind of have some fun. Is that a prom picture?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. This is prom. It looks like I had like a lot of friends, but I don't think that we were all really that close of friends. I think it was just like someone had a house big enough for us to all meet together.
Gotcha.
Then my senior picture and my office building is this one. And then this was on my birthday last year. All my friends took me to brunch and it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
We did a lot more than eating, but it was fun. Yeah.
I guess first of all, just kind of give us a little bit of background about you and where you are now and what's been your journey since you were in Elkhart, and just kind of an update on you, I guess.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. This is cool. It's not my normal activities, but this is cool. I went to Western Michigan for a year and I started bartending in Michigan at 18 because you can do that there. And I realized the school just wasn't really for me at the time. So I left that following summer and moved to San Francisco at 20. So I really didn't have a plan. I kind of just knew one or two people. I stayed with them for a while until I got a job off of Craigslist as a receptionist at this real estate investment firm. It was pretty cool. It was totally outside of anyone that I've ever known before. He was just super, super wealthy, and I was doing a lot of personal things for him. So it was a little bit more than a receptionist job. And then about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I found this job, which is at Bain & Company. It's a consulting firm. It's a global consulting firm, so we have employees all over the world, and I'm an executive assistant now. So I support 3 partners, and I don't think I'm moving back to Elkhart anytime soon, which my family is not totally happy about, but I really love living in San Francisco.
What's been the biggest, I guess, culture shift or kind of opened your eyes to a new world, I guess, if you want to call it that, being in San Francisco from Elkhart?
Oh, it's totally a new world. I think one of the biggest culture shocks is the diversity in general. I think it's fair to say that the demographic that I grew up with was nowhere near the people that I live around now. I think the Asian communities are pretty low. I think there is a big Latin culture, but it's not as heavy as I think I've been introduced to here. And I've loved it. I think it's great to actually embrace the differences between people. And they've all taught me so much. I've never had so many different kinds of Asian noodles. I could probably try to tell you where they come from, but that, or I never had guacamole or an avocado before moving here. So I think those things were the biggest. And then I think in general, living in an urban city, you have homeless people. That was a huge culture shock because we don't typically have homeless people in Elkhart, nor are they that kind of aggressive in asking and panhandling. I think it opened my eyes in general to there's a bigger world outside of Elkhart, Indiana, and the norms that kind of go with a small town.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What would you say has been aspects of home that maybe you don't miss it so much, but every once in a while you think of it and you think to yourself, oh, it'd be nice to be able to do this or go here or eat at this place or whatever?
Yeah, honestly, the simplicity of life. So I know I just said that I embrace the diversity here, and I think that's what keeps me here. But I also miss being able to slow down and just drive 20 minutes to Mishawaka or South Bend or to those bigger urban kind of places. I miss listening to country music, driving down the road and honestly having no agenda. I think that was something I took for granted. Was having no agenda and just driving around, and I can't really do that here. You kind of have to know where you're going, or at least be a lot more aware on the streets than you do in Elkhart.
How is travel different in San Francisco than it is, in Elkhart?
Pedestrians and bicycles have every right of way. So it doesn't matter if you are in the right. Pedestrians and bicycles always have the right of way. So I think paying attention to actually people running across the street, and they will. So it's a lot more complex to drive here, just because you have to be a lot more aware of everything else going around.
Gotcha. Kind of shifting a little bit back to where you are, what you're doing is career-wise. What are those skills that you've seen that apply to across the board, and you're going to need these are non-negotiables to be successful?
Yeah. Drive, I think, is like the first thing that comes to mind. If you're willing to go that extra mile, or if you're willing to even step into a foreign place, I think is the number one. Number two, I thought a lot about this. Being punctual. People actually really care when you're punctual, and punctual is not just timely. Punctual is like actually mentally there, and in like a mentally good space for you to actually be present and like listening to like what someone's telling you, but also be very present with yourself, and honest if that about like if that's the place that you want to be in, then you should go for it. Drive and punctuality, I think, are both really will take you pretty far. I think also another one is just to remember that everyone's human. And it doesn't matter if they're like the vice president of like this firm, or like the CEO, or just in HR. Everyone's just a normal human being, and it's not as scary. I mean, I know it seems scary, but they have families just like you do. And I think if you talk to them like a normal human, it gets you pretty far also.
What are some of the classes or teachers or staff members or activities that you remember doing when you were in school at Memorial that you feel like helped maybe start to develop some of those skills that you're using now?
I think one of the biggest things was this club called SSAC. It was very leadership oriented. We were able to go to Central for a day, and vice versa. Central came to us for a day, and we kind of explored like what the differences were. And even though they were in the same school system, they did have different norms, and I'm pretty sure we even had different schedules. So I think we had the block schedule, and they were on normal like 7 classes a day or something. So that alone was a really, really big transition. And it was just for a day, but it was cool to like talk about the pros and cons from both sides. That also allowed me to go to a few like school board meetings, which was really awesome, and made me feel like I actually had a voice in these things. And I think it's really important to learn from that you do always have a voice. Like you can't always say that you want to do this or you don't want to do it. So that was definitely a really cool one. I think influential people, a few. I was thinking about this also recently, because I'm friends with her on Facebook and she's hilarious. But Mrs. Shields,
Oh yeah.
she just let me be me all the time. And I didn't realize how important of a life lesson that was until I just caught myself not being myself and like doing things because I was surrounded by other people. But she always let me be me. And I think that's a really cool life lesson to learn.
As far as being in San Francisco, being in California on the West Coast, when all this current climate started changing with the coronavirus and COVID-19 and all that stuff, what was that experience like for you? How did that change your day to day?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think we were all, and I think we still kind of are a little bit in an unknown space as to how long this is going to last. But we first started hearing a lot about it like the first week of March or so. And a lot of the bigger companies like Facebook and Google and such had already implemented a work from home anything. So we implemented work from home March 13th or so. So about the second week of March, we were on mandatory work from home. And then the week after, San Francisco actually put a shelter in place. So I have been doing this a little bit longer than I think the rest of the country. So I feel like I've already been through like the ups and downs of it, but they're definitely, it's okay. I think what I've learned is it's okay to feel down and almost like grieve this process because it sucks. Like it's not fun to just be at home all day, and it's not fun to have to come up with a new routine for yourself and for your family or with your family. I think it's tricky for a lot of people, not just anyone. Like it's tricky for everyone.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There are ups and there are downs and ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys. And
Yeah.
what would you say has been the biggest positive takeaway from your experience of being at home? Like what's maybe something you discovered about yourself or something that you started doing that you weren't doing before?
Yeah. I've gotten a lot of sleep. I think it sounds really silly, and I didn't think that I wasn't really resting before this, but I found myself actually getting a full night's rest and waking up the next morning a little bit more refreshed. Um, and I think I've made it a point to like make healthier food decisions throughout the day. I think in the beginning I was like going to the fridge every 10 minutes and I was like, can I have another snack now? Or like, I'll make this now, or I'll make that, or like, I'll try to be a baker. And like, I think I was trying to do too many things at once, that it was just a little bit tricky. And I kind of had to scale back and remind myself that it's fine. I can actually just be at home and work and have a movie playing in the background, and that's okay. So I think this learning process in general has been kind of tricky to navigate, like what works and what doesn't work. But positive experiences have been getting a lot of sleep and making better food decisions.
Say I'm a high school student at Memorial. I'm watching this interview and I really don't know what I want to do with my life yet. It's, whether I'm a sophomore or a senior.
Mm-hmm.
What's the big message that you want to get to those kids at Memorial about their future and their life and where they're going?
I think the biggest message is it's okay to fail. And I definitely think you don't have to have it figured out. I'm not sure that I even have it all figured out. I'm comfortable with where I am right now, but I always have this itching drive for something more and something greater. And I think that combined with not really being afraid to fail anymore is really helpful. You don't have to know where you're going. And quite honestly, I think you're too young, if you're still in high school, to really know passionately about what you really want to do. So I think it's okay. I think it's okay to jump into like any unknown and fail and then come back a lot stronger. Like the biggest life lessons I've learned were through failing, not the first time that I succeeded. And they teach you so much more about yourself whenever you have nowhere else to go but like up. Yeah, it's okay to not know, and it's okay to just step your foot in a random door that you're not sure where it will lead you, but just kind of embrace it and like open your arms and take it.
It's good. Anything else that you can think of that you want to make sure that you talk about or express to them?
Yeah, I think just like not being afraid. I think you just get so caught up in your head sometimes, and it's so easy to just kind of be hesitant to do anything. But I think when you are vulnerable enough to embrace whatever you know is coming for you, like you have these ambitions, and whenever you embrace them without fear, it makes it a lot more fun. And life does get a lot more fun outside of high school, like a lot.
Oh, so true. So true.
And actually, I will probably be out in June. There's going to be a baby arriving in my family. So,
oh, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I love my little nieces and nephews running around. It's so fun. Can get them all sugared up and send them back home. Yeah, thank you for having me. This was awesome. This was a lot of fun.